Good evening and welcome back. This is Midnight in the Desert, your home for the best in anomalous talk radio 5 nights a week. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. My guest this evening, Justin Bamforth, as we enter into our third hour. He has written a book called The Spectrum, Glimpses of the Paranormal and Encounters with the Strange. All right, Justin, let's talk to people about Gary Sudbrink. And tell us a little bit about this case, if you don't mind.
Sure. So, in 1993, Gary was an Air Force captain. He was assigned to medical work in San Antonio, Texas. On February 7th of that same year, he decides to make a surprise trip to visit his friends and family up in Long Island, New York. Now, he doesn't tell anybody. He doesn't even tell his superiors. In fact, he'd forgotten to actually tell them that he was going to leave. As he's going to the airport, right, he meets two different men at the airport, both of which wanted information from him. They both wanted to know his name, and they were persistent about it. It was a little odd, right? But what prompted that question, Gary can't remember. Now, the thing about Gary is he has a really good memory. He can recall details of the time, the place, the setting, exactly what these men look like. They didn't look out of the ordinary. But he described to me like the color of the hair, everything about them, but he can't remember what exactly they were talking about in the conversation. He just remembers them trying to extract information from him. Anyways, he was a little bit worried about it. He thought these guys maybe were like breaking his house or some other. So he calls his landlord. He just says, look, check up while I'm gone. So that's the only person that knows is his landlord. The next day, Gary and his father, they meet with a guy named Coleman von Kavesky. Von Kavesky was the director of Intercontinental UFO Research and Analytic Network. A little bit of backstory. Kavesky was the unofficial spokesperson for the UFO hearings held at the UN in 1978. He was a good friend of the Prime Minister of Grenada, Sir Eric Gary, who had arranged this whole meeting, right? Anyways, they're meeting with this guy to talk about a UFO sighting that Gary didn't have, but his father had. And here's another interesting point. Gary, at least to my knowledge, to this very day, has not had a UFO sighting. So that's very interesting. Now, since he's in the area, so now his family knows, Gary decides to make a call to his longtime friend, Mike, who had no prior knowledge of him being in town. So he called Mike, and Mike says to Gary, look, I talked with you the other day. And Gary's like, what? What are you talking about? I didn't call you. And Mike goes, well, yes, you did. You talked to me, and you sounded like you had a stuffy nose, and you were coming down with a cold. Apparently, this impersonator also stated that he had flown in through LaGuardia Airport, but Gary actually came in through JFK. Now, as they were talking and having this conversation, there's the beep of the call waiting. And that'll be the first phone call that you hear. Now, at this moment, the phone call had just started happening, and Gary instinctively presses record on his answering machine. And both his father and mother are present in the room when this first phone call happens. This is 10:30 at night.
Yes. I'll tell you who it is.
Hello?
Yeah. Do you want to speak to him?
Is Gary Sudbrink there?
Yeah, who's this? Steven? Are you playing games with me or what? Huh? Steven, if you're playing games, I'm going to kick your ass.
So how long are you going to be back from Texas?
Huh?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Yeah, this is you, Steven, you idiot. You're pissing me off. You jerk. I'm going to get you on... Let's see what it says. Review. One new call out of area. Is Steven out of the area?
How long are you going to be back from Texas?
Wait, say that again?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Wait, hold on. Is Steven out of the calling area or what?
How do I know?
What do you mean you don't know? He's in Queens. Well, who are you talking? I don't know who the
Hello?
Hello?
Is Gary Sudbrink there?
Who is this? Sounds like a freaking robot.
Hello? How long are you going to be back from Texas?
What was that again, sir?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Oh, be quiet, Alpha. Sorry, would you see that again? Hello? Being impersonated by what voice?
Hello?
Yeah. Hello?
There's Gary Sudbrink there.
Yeah, hold on a second.
Yeah, what is your question? I'll answer it.
So how long are you going to be back from Texas?
How long?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Right. When am I coming back? Is that your question? Okay, there was a break. Hold on. You want to know when I'm coming back to Texas? Oh, is that your question?
So how long are you going to be back from Texas?
How long am I going to be back from Texas? That question doesn't make any sense.
By the other voice.
Okay. I'll be coming back eventually. I can't tell you when. You should know that question, the answer to the questions, because you seem to know more about me than I do. You know what I'm saying?
Are you an intergalactic person?
Are you a space alien?
Sounds like he hung up.
I can't believe this.
He hung up, Gary.
See if he comes back.
All right, I'll hang up.
All right, that is just straight up bizarre.
Yeah. What do you put that into, right?
I don't know. Right. And that it keeps repeating itself in this kind of, again, the way it's posing a question is almost like it's trying to figure out how to formulate a way to speak in a language or in the context he would understand, but it's just enough off. And even in the way that it's saying your voice is being, or you are being impersonated by the other voice, it's like it is trying to convey a message, but it doesn't speak our language fluently. Like you would talk to somebody maybe from France who knew enough of our language to give you the concept of what they're trying to say, but unable to do so. Or us visiting, Mexico or something like that and doing the exact same thing. Yeah.
And it's interesting how you can hear Gary just trying to rationalize this and almost like play along, like, okay, well, what do you want? What is the point of this? Now, he also keeps referencing his older brother, Stephen. So the interesting thing about that, so Gary has two brothers, and this is where it gets into doppelganger stuff. So a few years prior to this incident, Stephen, again, Gary's brother, is en route to a wedding, also in Long Island. And Stephen sees Gary drive up alongside him, make weird faces to get his attention, and then drive off. Now, Gary was in Long Island at that particular time, but he had neither a car to drive, let alone the car he was spotted in. It was the exact same make and model of the very one that was parked at Gary's house in San Antonio at that particular time. What the heck?
I don't even know. All right, well, how do you want to introduce this next clip that we have?
So that was at 10:30 in the evening. There's a second call. This entity calls back at 11:10 in the evening. And what you're going to hear now is the second call.
What is your question? Yes, speaking. Yes. Could I answer any questions for you?
Are you back from Texas?
Not back yet, no.
How long are you going to be back from Texas?
Let me answer. First, you tell me, where are you calling from?
This is Gary Sudbrink.
Yeah, why don't you tell me where you're calling from?
Who is this?
What do you mean, who is this? You should know who it is. It's me, Gary. Wait, let me ask you this question. Where are you calling from? Okay, I'll be back. Excuse me? I can't hear too well. Yeah, it is a full moon out. That's true. Could you identify yourself? Identify yourself. Why are you calling me? Excuse me? I cannot hear too well.
Get on the other phone, it's better.
Hold on, let me switch phones.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Now, who are you?
Keep an eye in the sky, he said.
Keep an eye in the sky?
Yeah.
Can I talk to him? I had a sighting.
Okay, hold on. Say that. Repeat that again. Please repeat. Okay. Near Orion.
Holy mackerel. Tonight or just on when?
The full moon.
They told
Double.
Repeat.
Tell them I like to talk.
Okay. Repeat last word. I'm hearing static.
Tell them I like to talk.
He hung up.
He hung up.
Hello?
Pretty
All right,
weird
now-
stuff.
Yeah, now that audio was a lot lower, and it almost sounded like a drugged voice or somebody. So now in the third, and please understand, I'm not trying to rush it out. It's certainly compelling and bizarre audio, but is the third clip basically the same thing where he's repeating the same questions over and over?
He actually says, so it's strange because he'll say the same things, but he'll say it in different ways, which has led me to believe that this is not a recording. But he basically says like the same things, keep your eyes on the skies, but instead of asking now, how long are you back from Texas? The voice will say, are you back from Texas? And it'll draw it out almost like it's losing power.
Well, since the third clip is very similar to the first two we've heard, and I know Keith said that he really likes the fourth clip quite a bit. Why don't you you just kind of gave us a quick overview of the third clip. Talk to me a little bit about this fourth piece that we'll play before the break.
Sure, no problem. And I'm glad that you guys are playing this and recognizing the fact that these are becoming less audible too. In the fourth clip, it's the next night. It's around the same time. It's 10:21 p.m. And you're going to hear the voice come in a lot stronger, like in the first clip. Now, present in the house at this particular time is Gary, his father, and his uncle Tom, who had also had a UFO sighting with Gary's father in a separate event.
Yes, this is me. Can I speak to you? Can I ask why you're... Yes, can I ask why you're calling? Can I please ask... Yes, this is. Yes, that is me. Say that again?
This planet.
Leave?
We come
I'm staying right here.
to be within this planet.
Is this a joke or what?
The many to be contacted as the same with you.
I have to think about that. I'd like to see you.
The many to be contacted as the same with you.
Hey, let me tell you something. I've been listening to you, and I've had contacts with you.
Government interference? You have? Please explain what type of interference. Okay.
Visitations to be disrupted by them. Appears. Sun will rise on dark side of world. No.
The sun will rise from the dark side of the moon.
Okay, what branch of the government? What should I do?
Government interference. Visitations to be disrupted by them.
Okay. Is that good for me or bad? They hung up.
Do you get phone?
Yeah.
All right. Very, very bizarre stuff.
So,
And especially the fact that it's now becoming more warning, beware. This is what's going government interference. You're starting to get this information. And it's unnerving all of the people involved in this. They don't know how to take it, right? Is this a joke? Are they being manipulated? How many calls and over what period of time did they receive messages like this?
this was it. To my knowledge, this was it. It was just these 2 nights and these 4 calls. Now, the argument could be made, right? Again, that the mysterious caller sounds like, well, a recording. And maybe it was just a, disguised voice being played on a loop. But when I listened carefully to these and I analyzed these pretty in depth, with the clamshell headphones, late at night, of course. But there were times when the patterns of the responses appear exactly the same, and other times when they differ slightly. And then when I analyzed the particular tone and style of the calls, I discovered that there were 17 instances of the voice in the first call, 16 in the second, 15 in the third, and back up to 17 again in the fourth and final call. Now, again, maybe the caller had lost energy as the calls progressed throughout that night. What I noticed about this is because of that aspect, it's similar how people commonly report conversations with MIB-type entities too. And Gary believed these calls to be such examples of them.
How did you get access to these audio clips?
So I had heard of this case in a MUFON conference. and they didn't play all the clips. Sue Sawatek out in Virginia MUFON. She had looked into this case, but before her, Linda Moulton Howe looked into this case back in the 1990s. But again, they didn't play all the clips. So I was like, okay, well, I got to find this guy. And a lot of times I will go out and I'll find the particular witness because to get the straight story. And what I found in doing that is that there were some errors made in the story or in the report and in the case, things that were reported that didn't take place. So I could get the straight story from Gary, and he supplied me with these calls.
And when he shares this with you in current date and he's talking to you about this, I mean, how is he impacted by them? And what made him keep these recordings all these years? And I want to thank Keith for doing the work. He really bolstered the audio when we were originally playing these. There was no way, especially that second voice, would be heard through the phone lines. And Keith did a great job of not altering or editing it, but bolstering the audio underneath those segments so that they are much clearer. And they're still hard to hear, but that is we heard as well as we did just because of the work he did off air on that. So I wanted to give Keith some acknowledgement on that. But why did he keep these audio bits? What did he think was so important about this?
You know, begs the question, right? I know that because of his father and his uncle had their UFO sightings, they were really interested in this topic. And I guess Gary became interested in it. So thankfully, he instinctively pressed record on the answering machine because, he had that I guess the foresight to do it. But I was talking with him a couple of days ago, and I asked him if he had thought about calling Mike maybe the day before, when apparently he really did call Mike. And he said he wasn't really sure, but he always wondered, like, what if I never called Mike at all? Would the call still have came through? Or what if Mike never told him that?
Yeah, I mean, it leads you to believe there's definitely different aspects of this story that are still left to be examined. It's, what's so strange is that it's very chilling audio, although nothing really creepy is, and maybe it's just because of the night, because of what we're hearing, but there's just something unearthly about what we were hearing and the messages that are being given in this case. What do you think? Do you think this is an otherworldly presence?
I don't know what it is. What I do know is that, again, that mechanical type of voice, that would match up with other reports of encounters with MIB in their tone and nature. So is this an instance of the MIB being caught on an audio device now? Possibly. Again, it's all speculation, right? They did go outside and they looked up towards the sky near Orion. They didn't see anything that night. But it is interesting to note, though, that when Gary's father and his uncle had a UFO sighting, they were en route to visit a location of another strange incident back in 1988. This was a radio tower that collapsed at the Green Bank Telescope Observatory in West Virginia. Again, they speculated that a UFO cut it down with a laser, so they were just driving there to get the straight story, right? But as they're driving down there, they have their own UFO sighting. Now, what's interesting about this particular observatory is when I did further research on it, a major achievement of that particular telescope, it was the first to discover a helical magnetic field in interstellar space coiled like a snake around a gas cloud in the constellation of Orion. Was there a tie-in? Was it just synchronicity, coincidence? I don't know, but it's interesting.
Very interesting. Speaking of interesting, we've got more to discuss. Justin Bamforth, our guest, and when we return, what about the dangers of investigating high strangeness? We've heard how it can affect people that have had these experiences. Let's talk more about that when we return, plus your questions and more. Phone lines are open, 480-571-3540. You're listening to the best in anomalous talk radio. We're here 5 nights a week, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to midnight Pacific. You can listen on midnightinthedesert.com or our flagship station, KNYE in Pahrump, Nevada. We'll be back with more right after this.